All right. We have a special edition of the Outer Banks This Week podcast today. This is something that I originally was going to use inside of a regular podcast, but I changed my mind at the last second. I'm sitting here today with real estate and property management experts on the Outer Banks. So this podcast is going to be informative, but fun. Okay. Let's just say it that way. Informative, but fun. I've got Brooke. I've got Heather. They can't hear you if you don't have the microphone.
Hey.
So make sure you use that microphone, ladies. And I have Tiffany here as well. Okay.
Hey, guys.
All right, ladies. So you all, let's kind of get a little quick history, just real quick. Brooke, how long have you been in real estate on the Outer Banks? Microphone.
I was thinking. I'm thinking.
You can grab it and move it to you. There you go.
Okay, thank you. I think like 15 years.
15 years?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Heather, how about you? How long have you been involved in real estate?
I'd say about 23 years.
23 years. Okay. 23. How about you, Tiffany? How about you?
I am at 13 years this year.
13 years. So we'll say collectively between each of you we're 50 plus years of experience.
I botched mine.
You botched yours?
Yeah, mine.
She's way longer.
Yeah, I'm way longer than 15 years. You caught me off guard.
Okay.
It's probably closer to 20.
Closer to 20.
It said 14.
You said 23, 4. Yeah, so we're collectively 50 plus years, pushing 60. 60 years or so of property, real estate, property management on the Outer Banks. So we got some good people here to discuss the activity.
Yeah.
Of property management and real estate on the Outer Banks. So let's look at 2024 so far. So we're in September. Okay.
Thank God.
How would you say, let's start with Tiffany here. We'll start with Tiffany and we'll come back around to Brooke.
Of course you would.
Yes, of course.
Okay, go ahead.
How would you say that 2024 has been on the property, because you're property management. How would you say property management wise things have been for the Outer Banks this year in 2024 thus far to September?
Stabilized.
Okay.
If you're talking about COVID years in comparison to now, I would say it's stabilized, but we're seeing shorter stays, more last minute bookings. That really picked up this year. I think our market as a whole has adopted the flex stay strategy now, where it used to be 7 days. So we've seen a lot of activity there and are continuing kind of to see that going forward.
So when you say flex stays, can you describe what is exactly is a flex stay? Is it like, flexing up, or no? What is it?
You can't use that.
Okay.
No, so it is our market traditionally is Saturday to Saturday, Sunday to Sunday, 7-night rentals. Flex stays means there is no turn day restriction, so you can check in whenever and check out whenever. Most companies do have a minimum stay requirement, so 2 or 3 nights, but you can check in and check out at any time.
Gotcha. Okay, and that's been trending here lately. Is that an accurate statement? Those types of stays, the flex stays.
A lot of owners refer to that as the Airbnb platform, but
Yep.
but it's really a trend and a style. But that's how most people, the consumer and owners, view it.
Okay.
The Airbnb platform.
So you're seeing a lot more of that. You saw a lot more of that. Okay. So compared to, I guess we'll say 2023, how was things this past year for reservations and things of that nature? Heather, you want to weigh in? Take the mic.
Not really.
Not really.
I mean, it was a good year,
Okay.
for most. Some owners had to get creative and allow less than a week stay, or open up to charging a cleaning fee to the guest, but allowing them to stay 3 or 4 nights versus 7. But they took that pretty well and filled in a lot of vacancies. It was a good summer.
Okay. Excellent. What about Brooke? What about on the sales side of things? Now you sell, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about some of the sales this year.
We have a cycle that happens on the Outer Banks for rentals and for sales. And traditionally, the summer is not as good as it is in some areas because of the obvious, you can't get in and see it except for one day a week because there's renters in and out of there. But typically in October, we see a surge in inventory. And that's because the rental seasons are in large part over. And owners are getting ready to have to float that till January when the next disbursements come out. So it is normal to see a surge in inventory in October. And it kind of dries up a little bit during the summer. There's not quite as much to view and come here and see. So all of those things have attributed to, I don't think it's way off from where it was last year. It's just the normal cycle that we see.
So I guess your season for sales is on the horizon.
We see a surge of inventory. Now, whether people are buying because of interest rates, that remains to be seen. Right. But I do think that we will see the same cycle of a surge in inventory because I think some of the people that bought pre-COVID or during COVID are looking to get out of this now. And so it's not for the faint of heart. The things that go on in a rental house are not easy things to deal with. And I think a lot of the younger generation jumped into buying and they were not ready for being a landlord.
They also bought in at a high market value and high rental market value, right? During remote period of work and school, we were booked 40 to 45 weeks out of 52 for some houses a year. That's not going to continue. No. But that is when these buyers had bought in, and that is what they continued to expect going forward. And that's a big change.
So what do you believe may have caused the drop? Do you think economy? Do you think, like, if you had to just guess, and this is just you guessing.
Travel, I mean.
Things got back to normal. Yeah. Things got back to normal. And if you break it down and dumb it down to the most elementary level, it's supply and demand. There wasn't enough houses. They were charging more. So it's almost like this new era of owners that we deal with on the property management side are saying, I've always charged peak rate during this time of year. You've only owned the house 2 years. So that's not historical data. You're looking at everything after COVID. And that's
with Airbnb, and everyone's renting a room or a garage.
That's right. So it really does have a lot to do with the new buyer because Tiffany, all three of us can attest that most of our owners in Nags Head, they were like, especially South Nags Head, they were the ones that still asked for the catalog and the brochure because they were older. Okay. So when they saw the moment to ditch it and make a lot of money, some of them did. The folks that bought during that time, they were buying and they were seeing what was happening right then. It's just not sustainable for moving forward.
They weren't looking at historical data.
No, they were not looking at it. And then, you look at projections. Well, people were using current data for those projections and they were not sustainable again.
Right. So again, in a lot of ways, people were looking at what they were doing during COVID and trying to use it as a base going forward, and it just wasn't realistic.
That's right.
Okay.
The season got a little bit shorter, back to where it had always been, and
rates had to come down.
Rates had to come down sooner.
And I've heard from a lot of guests, too, that, why are they going to, with the rates that we're able to charge now when they can go to Europe for the same amount as they can rent an oceanfront house, then a lot of people are following, their bucket list and going other places.
Right. Okay. Now, what about pre-COVID? Are you seeing numbers comparable to pre-COVID numbers?
Yes.
2019?
Yeah, like 2018, 2019, maybe even 2017.
Yes.
2019, really.
Yeah, 2019 is
trending very similar to 2019.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a stabilization. It's not a downward.
We're normalizing.
We're normalizing. I can't speak for Tip, but like we are not encouraging huge increases because there's not enough demand.
The market can't sustain it.
Mm-mm. Okay.
Another thing I've picked up too recently, from an owner's perspective, if you're trying to get the most weeks booked, Pet Friendly seems to help a ton with those off-season weeks. We've seen a lot of success with Pet Friendly rentals over non-Pet Friendly rentals during the off-season. And so if you're looking to pick up some more revenue than what you've already got, that would be a suggestion, but you're not going to see the same numbers that you saw during COVID.
Now, I know part of what you have to do in the property management world is when you have owners, you probably need to kind of guide them and direct them into, hey, look, this is what it's looking like. And kind of, do you give them that information say, so listen, we're not what we were at 2021. It's 2024. And we're seeing numbers comparable to this from 2019. You all kind of help guide and direct those individuals in that way.
Yeah, you kind of got to look at what are the, consistent trending top search amenities, right? Location, you can't change. You can't change where a house is located. Private pool, a lot of them can't change to put in a private pool if they don't already have one.
Right.
Pets is something that can be changed.
Okay.
So if you're not already pet friendly, being pet friendly now, like I said, within the top 3 search, amenities is pet friendly all the time. So you just kind of bumped yourself up to be more exposed when people are searching.
Okay.
It doesn't even necessarily mean that everybody's going to bring a pet, but it's just you're more exposed. You're in more search results by being pet friendly during those time periods when there's a ton of supply out there. It makes you stand out.
Okay. Let me ask you this now. I think about now this is different, I'm sure, and you'll let me know this. I've thought about in the past whenever I've booked a hotel. Okay. And years ago, it was one of those things where, it was do you want a smoking room or a non-smoking room? Do you have houses that permit smoking, or
No.
how does that work now?
We don't have any.
Everything's
smoke in
non-smoking.
bars.
Yeah, I know you can't, but a privately owned home
Yeah. No.
do you have those?
Nope, you can't smoke in the home and you can't smoke on the premises, and definitely don't smoke on the decks.
Now, is that a company rule or is that it is.
It is.
Rule?
So I know that some places do still have smoking allowed, and they do still have smoking allowed, but usually those are old school owners that smoke themselves. And
Okay.
really, you can't rent the house without smoking because that's what it smells like.
Right. Okay. I mean, like I said, this is where my ignorance comes into play.
Very
These are
few
me
and far
asking
between,
questions that
though.
I don't know.
I think
We don't have any of those.
We don't have any smoking units.
Okay.
But
I used to.
But she just passed away.
Yes.
Okay.
And
That's-
she did. She passed away 2 years ago. I had one.
Lung
Everybody
cancer.
seems to know what that one unit
Right.
was because you couldn't walk in it without it
Suffocating.
absolutely
Hitting you in the
reeking
face.
of smoke. And she did pass away. His soul, that unit has been completely remodeled, and you would never know.
Gotcha.
Very cool.
But
Very cool.
yes, no smoking.
It was the last smoking unit that I was aware of anywhere
Yep.
with any company.
Yep.
So, okay, we've got kind of a good idea of the real estate market, the way it's been and what you can expect. We've talked about some of the property management things over 2024 in comparison to years past, even pre-COVID, because we can't really use those numbers and those figures as a great reference because they're so skewed. Now, we're coming up, fall, winter time on the Outer Banks into 2025. And I'm wondering, there's so many great activities that are being popping up. We got the 12 bars. We've got the Island of Misfit Toys, another one that's popped up. These different
of
things and
Halloween
activities.
events.
Halloween events.
Yep.
Now, because of these types of activities, have you seen any uptick in the fall winter time rentals or?
Well, I think what Tiffany spoke to earlier about the flexible turn days, that is really encouraging people to come to these activities because they don't have to stay a whole week.
Right.
If I'm coming to the food truck show,
down.
I don't want to stay a week. I just want to come for the weekend.
Right.
And, I think that that's a great way to get people here. And now we have lots of homes that will allow that kind of stay where, gosh, 5 years ago we did not.
And a lot of it is weather dependent. This weekend was beautiful. So there was the Jeep invasion, and
Right.
we did see an uptick in weekend bookings last week for this coming weekend. But it is, people from Virginia can drive down here. So as long as the weather's going to be nice, they're willing to spend the money.
Right.
And wait until the last minute to make sure that weather is going to be nice.
Of
Because
course.
it's non-refundable.
Yeah, because it's non-refundable. That's another thing about our market is most rentals within our market are non-refundable. You'd have to put the week into sublet or dates into sublet and wait for it to re-rent. Unless you have travel insurance, get travel insurance.
Buy travel insurance.
Buy travel insurance.
Now, let's talk about that travel insurance real quick. Now, travel insurance covers what?
Death in the family, medical emergency, hurricane evacuations, and a million other reasons.
And
Sounds
I
like a
will
commercial.
tag in and say, too, that depending on the insurance company itself, various things may be offered. Some insurance companies will offer a cancellation, a CFA, it's called. You can cancel for any reason.
Okay.
And
That's usually more expensive, right?
right, which has a higher premium, but then you don't have the restrictions of why, and you can cancel. Most standard policies cover what Heather had said. Some will only cover if there is a mandatory evacuation here on this island. So hypothetically speaking, if you have a hurricane at home and it destroys your property, it doesn't cover that circumstance. Other insurance companies do cover both here and at home or anything en route. So it's important for you to reach out to that insurance company themselves, whether that's Red Sky or Travel Guard or Rental Guardian or any of them, and get their specifics when you do purchase insurance.
Okay.
Of the policy.
Okay. So back to, looking down the pipe into the wintertime and everything like that, is it safe to say that you will oftentimes see with events and things that are taking place throughout the wintertime, people will wait till the last second and then they will book, and then you'll have a huge bump in the weekend and it'll be great?
Yes.
Okay.
Like Columbus weekend currently, Columbus weekend is almost, I think we're actually 100%. I don't think we have anything left for Columbus weekend.
Okay. So Columbus weekend's looking very bright for you all, pending weather, I would assume. Or is that's done? That's in the
they're
book.
not
Booked, it's not
They booked,
Non-refundable. I hope you got travel insurance if you booked.
There's a new company out there right now that's trying to push their product, which is, it's not an insurance policy, but it is a policy that covers if it rains.
Interesting.
My God, where has that been all my life?
It's called Forecast Bug. And the guests
That's gotta be expensive.
the guests will add this premium cost to their reservation, and if at any point in time it rains more than X inches, and every time of the year it is different terms. So during our heavy hurricane season, it has to rain more than during other times of the year. The guest pays, and then if it does rain, the insurance company refunds them directly, and we have nothing to do with it. So
Wow.
Refunds them what? The rent? I mean, they go home?
their rent. No, they can stay. They stay.
Oh, they can still stay.
They stay.
Interesting.
It is. And so they are big in Europe right now, and they are pushing down here. I've talked to 2 other companies that they've talked to. I've spoken with them. I would like to see. We'll probably need to see more of a success or a happening with that before. But they are backed by Allstate, I believe it was,
Okay.
an insurance company, and so they do have backing and investors. But it will be interesting. If it rains, you get refunded, and so
Wow.
I mean, like we had a rain that was, talking about a storm. Torrential rain, 15 inches in Corral last week.
Yeah.
That is not a named storm.
Nope.
That is not, travel insurance not doing anything. But if you're a travel weather bug,
yeah.
I mean, I had people hate me for the rest of my life over that rain.
It is something to look into. If
really nothing I can do.
I'll send you the information.
Yeah.
But it is definitely, I think if it comes down here and it is successful, we will see a very high success rate with that, because you don't have to leave, and it can rain literally like an inch of rain in some circumstances, and you get a full refund for that day.
Oh, wow.
And so it's pretty awesome.
Hey.
Different than travel insurance, though. Very different. You'll still want both.
You'll still want both.
Still want both.
Okay.
But yeah, it would be an add-on.
So you feel pretty good about that specific type of...
I think it'd be successful.
Okay. Cool deal. So we've talked a little bit about what has gone on in 2024. We talked a little bit about what to kind of look forward to in the fall, winter. Could we maybe, and you can say no, but could we maybe look into next year, what we could maybe forecast into 2025? Or is that just some uncharted territory we want to stay away from? How do we want to...
2025 is going to be great.
2025 is going to be great. Heather says 2025, great.
I think we can say safely that the inquiries are up,
Okay.
but that may be because our pricing has been normalized or stabilized. And, we want people making those inquiries, but it's too early to tell whether year
Gotcha.
over year where we are.
So we maybe need to readdress this in the spring.
Yeah.
Redo
Even-
this.
People aren't booking a year out, and they're just not doing that anymore.
They're not... Okay, so...
Unless it's the same house they've rented for 30 years and they're not giving up their week.
Now, how many of those do you think that there are roughly, like a percentage-wise? Like if you had to maybe slap a percentage on it.
10%.
I was gonna
10%.
say- I was gonna say
10% of
15.
people
Yep.
will
10.
go ahead and reserve the same house, same week.
Every year.
So,
Houses.
and I want to hear Tiffany's answer to this. Isn't it always the older clientele that does that? Have you
100%.
ever had anybody under 100 do that?
Under 100. Okay, so I don't really ask their age, but I will tell you that by gauging conversation
And getting their check in the mail?
they pay by check. They are the grandparents, the great grandparents of that family unit, and they book the same house every single year for their entire family to get together and come to. And then when their families start growing, then that's about the only time they're reaching out and saying, my family is growing. I may need a new house now. The grandkids are having grandkids and we need a bigger property.
And you got to love that, you know? Like, I would like to think that, you know, when I'm old, I can do something like that, you know? Having all the kids, and, you know, you think about it, that's like
tradition.
the one time a year that they get together. I think that's awesome that there are still people that will make a point to call you directly and say, I want the same house, same week next year. You know, and like you said, the older clientele are the ones that typically do that to keep the family together, man. You got to love that.
And it also, the clientele is usually older, but the owners of those houses are usually older.
True. And they're not increasing rates substantially. Nope. They're, you know, staying very
Reasonable.
even.
They maintain the home.
Yeah.
Because it's 100%. A second home. It's not just a rental.
So, okay, before we jump into something else, I kind of want to ask this question. Now, you talk about, you know, your job is to advise these owners on how to properly market their homes for rentals and things like that. When you give them what you consider sound advice on how to, you know, raise their price or whatever, you know, needs to happen, do they take it oftentimes, or do they try to go back and forth with you a little bit? Like, how does that interaction take place?
So I think most of the time they do. I think genuinely they listen to our advice. I think that some of the only owners that were ever reluctant to raise their rates were the ones that we just discussed.
Okay.
They were the ones that, oh, that's this family or the Smith family, and we've known them forever, and they've been coming here since before that child was born. And so those were the owners that were reluctant to raise their rates, and they sold their houses. And so the buyer raised the rate.
Okay.
And so sometimes that's why a house that consistently had done amazing with no change, all of a sudden isn't doing as well, has a big change because it's got new ownership. Somebody's new deciding what the rate is going to be.
In regards to maintaining, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you got to, I think that's a company thing. Honest, God's honest truth, because they need us just as much as we need them.
Okay.
And if they're not willing to put forth the maintenance and the work, and when we call them with a problem and say we're going to address it, then we don't need to manage their property.
We're not a good fit.
We're not a good fit. That's probably the best way to put it. Not every company has that perspective. It's right. And so I think that when you get on Facebook and you see these slanderous Facebook posts on the Outer Banks pages and how horrible their house was and it's all the rental company's fault and blah, 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 blah. There are times where 100% the rental company is at fault. There are times also, when an owner is refusing to fix something. If it is aesthetically annoying, they may not fix it. If it isn't interrupting your stay or making your property uninhabitable, they may not want to fix it until the off season. And so that's where we come in as a company, and we have to weigh how many concerns or complaints have been brought to our attention about certain items and whether the owner is going to fix it or not. If it's just one, my mattresses were uncomfortable and I really didn't enjoy my sleep while I was there. Okay, well, that's very subjective.
Yep. Some
Some people like a firm mattress, some people like a soft mattress. Now, if I get 5 complaints that the mattresses are uncomfortable, that's a conversation that we have with the owner. So some of it's subjective, but the owners that are unwilling to do anything, they shouldn't, we're not going to manage their property going forward.
Okay. Very good.
It's a liability for the company and the owner, and it's just not worth it.
Right.
Especially if I've acknowledged that this deck is not safe. I've acknowledged it, and I have told the owner about it, so now I'm complicit. Like I knew that it was not safe.
Okay. So let's talk about some of that stuff. Let's talk about some of that stuff. So, I am married to a property manager, and sometimes she will come home. Hey, honey, how was your day? And she will, sometimes it's good day, great day. Some days though, she's like, ugh. and she will tell me some things that happen throughout the day. Some of it relates to, some of the beach week things. What is that? DMV? What is that?
Oh, yes. Our beach week. Yeah.
So, all right.
Our evictions.
Let's start there. Tiffany, how was beach week for you this year?
I'm going to be honest. Beach week was not a problem for me this year.
Why do you think that was?
So I contributed to a few things. I think there's a lot more awareness right now about our area and how we are handling it.
Okay.
So there was letters sent out to various high schools and colleges in the DMV. The private schools especially area.
And DMV stands for?
DC, Maryland, and Northern Virginia.
Okay.
Not the Division of Motor Vehicles.
Okay.
And
Not
it's a new term for us old folks here.
Okay.
And so that contributed. We also are sending out an email when guests book during that beach week to say, hey, if you booked under false pretenses, now's your chance to get out. You got 7 days to cancel without, losing all of your money. So we've put that out there and implemented that. You still do have some parents that think they're going to get away with booking. So like I said, I made out very well this year. We only had one. And the parent had reserved the house. They had over 25 kids there. But she was in Charlotte picking up her own kid while all the other 25 kids are jumping off the deck into the pool area.
Everybody does that, Tiffany.
I know. It's like and people wonder why. The liability is insane. But she wasn't even there, neither was her kid. So she's rented this house for 25 children that are there. She's not there. Her kid's not there. And then she shows up the next day upset because I have evicted all 25 children.
I think, I think cameras on houses have made
That's how I knew.
Yeah, that is a huge difference. I know some rental companies don't allow it. I encourage it.
Me too.
That's an extra set of eyes that have batteries.
And there are disclaimers.
Absolutely.
So if you, once again, common sense, if you are renting a house for 25 kids and you're not going to be there, why would you rent a house that has cameras? Don't blame me necessarily for your stupidity. You should have realized that when you sign the lease and it says family groups only and the leaseholder has to be 24 and on the premises at all times, you signed that and then you're not there.
Does it ever surprise you that they're always lawyers or judges or?
She wasn't.
Like, oh, really? Yes. So often.
But yes, it does a lot of times. And I think that's like an empowerment thing, like entitled type of concept. But
I always tell everybody, like speaking of entitled children, because that's what comes during Beach Week. It's so crazy. But the first time I ever saw a Tesla was when Tiffany and I were evicting somebody. And it was the kid's car. I'm thinking like, I hope one day I can afford one of these here cars. Right. But I mean, these are children, and they're doing grown up things. But
now you, Brooke, were actually was this the thing you were on television talking about at one point?
I did. I was going to say that's why they didn't come this year because they watched the news.
I felt like there was a news.
Brooke intimidated them.
Fox
Anybody
Business,
that watched Fox
something?
News, I was going to say, so you got some population there, but anyone that watched Fox News saw Brooke on there.
I felt very authoritative and like.
So what was your message?
My message was just don't come here. Like we had worked, Tiffany, you were part of it. Heather was a part of it as well. Local and state agencies to keep these kids out and really put it out there that there was zero tolerance this year.
Okay.
Who came
Corolla Civic Association?
No, who came and stayed in Corolla? Was it the SBI?
ALE.
ALE. It was ALE that came, and they had a presence for a while. They were staying in a house in the Villages of Ocean Hill.
Okay.
So they made that their headquarters because Corolla has its own set of problems in a sense that if we do go break up this house with 22
they're 19-year-olds to the house behind them.
Right.
And they're driving.
And how do we take them to jail? That's quite the trip. So I do think law enforcement in Dare County and Currituck, as well as the state agencies, they had to get involved. And I think that also was a huge 100%. Deterrent because they came out with, I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do for a living. I know there was an FBI agent that was arrested. In Corolla, that was the year that it was so bad. They were going to shut it down, and when they did bring that agency in, I think was the game changer because they were crawling, they were everywhere.
Okay. So did you now when you made your presence on Fox Business, did you get any blowback for it?
I believe. Stop laughing. I think that it was played on other news outlets.
Okay.
And they said that I was entitled and I was a buzzkill.
And you must have never been a kid.
I must have never been a kid.
Just trying to let loose before they go to college.
Yep, and have fun.
There's a lot of throwback about that.
Yeah.
We must have never been kids.
We must have never been kids.
Let me tell you something.
I never tore someone else's shit up and walked away from it.
I can almost guarantee that we had more fun than any of these kids have.
Heck
Right.
yeah.
And never got caught. And why? Because we cared for if we were renting.
Respectful.
Right.
Respectful.
I mean, even like prom weekend, I got a hotel room for prom weekend, right? There was probably 20 of us that rented a hotel for prom weekend. We would have never caused chaos or left that place trashed or damaged or done any of those things. We were 17, 18 years old. But I don't know what the mentality difference is, but that just never would have happened.
No,
You believe it to
absolutely
be
not.
generational?
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
It wouldn't have happened. And like I said, we didn't get caught.
Because we didn't create attention around
You didn't draw
ourselves.
attention to yourself. Yeah.
100%.
And Heather, I've heard Heather tell people on the phone, look, we're not coming looking for you. The only reason we're here is because somebody called.
reported you. The pool
You're
vendor.
bothering someone.
Yes.
We're not coming to be the buzzkill. That's not the fun police. That's not what we are.
Nobody wakes up in the morning and says,
Heather.
I want to go evict people today. Let me just ruin somebody's day. No, it's not. It's just as much of a buzzkill for us as it probably is for them. We don't want to ruin your stay. We don't want to take all your money, right? If you don't get to
will
enjoy
say-
it.
And we don't want to clean up this mess that you have created
And deal with the owners.
and deal with the owners.
Because they're disappointed and we look bad. Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah,
It's a bad
it's
team.
all the way around. And I will say that, there's been times when my wife has gone somewhere and she'll text me or call me on her way and say, hey, I'm going to do this with a sigh. She's not excited to go
No.
do it.
No.
No, it's not fun.
No.
It's lengthy.
If they're jerks, there might be a little bit of enjoyment in it, but
Right.
all in all, it just depends on how much trouble they've caused you.
Okay, so let's talk about some of this trouble that's been caused. Anything interesting that has happened in these homes that you have seen or witnessed that has caused you to have to do an eviction?
Can I say something about Beach Week really fast?
Let's
though?
go ahead. Go ahead.
Let me just say this right now because there was all this newsworthy information that came out about Beach Week. I am here to tell you that was not a 2023 problem or a 2022 problem. That has been a problem
Since the 90s.
since the 90s. However, they just ventured to Corolla all of the sudden.
Well,
And it's the type of, it's the
generation.
It's the generation because back in the 90s, we would get our tails whooped
Yes.
if we did something like that. Nowadays,
Absolutely.
I'd have been scared crapless with my daddy if I
Exactly.
ever went out
Now
and
the
caused
dads
some
are
trouble
helping.
like that.
Now-
No way.
the parents are helping?
No
my dad would
way.
never have rented a house for me.
Sorry.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it really is. It's untrue that Nag's Head has always been a target.
Yes.
The bigger the house, the better. for
Nag's
those
Head and
kids.
Kildover Hills.
That's right. That's where it always was. And then it was in recent years we've seen an uptick in Corolla, and it because they got more money, but those owners are more vocal. Those
yeah.
owners are. Do you agree?
Oh, yeah.
They're so much more vocal up there.
Well, and there's a lot of HOA
yep, that's right.
stuff up there, whereas you don't
More
have that
oversight.
down here, and there's a ton of more oversight up there. There are people literally just with nothing to do all day long, just hired to drive around in the little subdivision
That's right.
and identify if a home's overoccupied or if there is behavior that is happening that isn't
Too many cars.
right. Any of the above. So they have eyes all the time in those subdivisions.
Okay.
And so when you
Up in
come
Corolla.
further south,
Yep.
I mean, you're just driving down a road. So
Yep.
it's not all, you don't have as many people, looking for you
Right.
or to annoy.
Okay. Well,
So stories though, did you have a good one this year?
yeah. Any good stories
good
this year
pictures?
from you, Brooke?
Table surfer?
Heather?
Table surf. We actually did just have a pool table surfer with a
And
cowboy
scary
hat.
Clown.
Tell me about this pool table surfer.
The pool table surfer has just shown himself because he took pictures of himself with a Polaroid camera and put them in the owner's closet.
What?
On the table?
Two owner.
Surfing USA.
Oh, Lord.
On the pool table. All right. Yeah.
And he took a picture of like the scary clowns with like a bullet.
It's a cartoon.
Oh God, I don't know.
But
I don't
it's
watch
two
cartoons.
clowns with the fire hose. Anyway.
So anyway, they took those Polaroids of the scary clown and the guy on the pool table and put them in two separate owners' closets on two different levels of the house.
And other pictures, too.
Okay.
And, there are definitely other pictures, but those were just the noteworthy ones.
That goes back to what we just said, though, right? Would we have ever done that?
Absolutely.
No.
So when I called...
We're not trying to sell ourselves out.
When I called the parent... Yeah, really. When I called the parent, he was like, no, that wasn't my kids. I'm like, are you sure? I don't know many kids that have a Polaroid camera. Does your child have a Polaroid camera? Mm-hmm. Yes, he does. I'm like, then it was your child.
Yeah.
I'm
Good
sorry.
chance it
We
was.
cannot... I don't know where to buy a Polaroid camera from.
Well, there's kind of a new thing, but you know.
But these kids were highly identifiable in the photos.
And they didn't hide their face.
Oh, no. Their faces... It was
like
meant
right
to be
close
mean.
up.
And they're younger, too. I mean, we're talking
that was what I'm
11.
saying. The intent of that was not to be funny.
No, it wasn't.
It was to be like, haha, gotcha.
I said to the parent, I said, this was a middle finger to the owner. And he was like, absolutely not. I'm like, what else do you call it?
Right. What else? How else would you do?
You are standing on his property and surfing with a cowboy hat on.
With a pool stick.
With a pool stick. I mean,
stealing.
How else do you see that?
Please tell me that this child was clothed.
Yes.
Okay, I was going to say, like, I mean, I don't know.
No, there was nothing indecent in that manner.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
But what I did say to that parent was, that those were their kids. I said, pictures don't have to be suggestive anymore for them to be used for...
Right.
Especially with AI.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. You got this picture of a young girl that's 10 or 11. She's just sitting there, but my gosh. I don't think
you stance on the picnic table. I mean, on the pool table. You
just don't want pictures of your children in strangers' hands. Period. End of story. And your kid did it to themselves and put it under the door.
Closet.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. How did they get in the owner's closet?
They
just
slid them
it
right under the door.
Got it.
What I find funny, and I still see this, and this has been going on, God, I think since we had done evictions, but the parents have them sign a contract.
Yes.
Okay.
The kids sign a contract. Okay. And
Very binding.
it's very binding.
Very binding.
Okay.
Okay. Tell me about this contract.
Yep. So the parents are listing on there, the do's and the don'ts essentially for their stay. And then all the kids sign on the back of the contract that say that they agree to said terms. So those terms are in no fashion relatable to the terms and agreements of the actual lease agreement.
That the parents signed.
That the parents are having them sign. It's really just like to try to keep it down and make sure your room space is maintained and cleaned and, things like that. But and the parents are giving these to me as I'm evicting them and saying, we're upholding the kids to these terms and they're not doing anything wrong and blah, blah, blah. But then you have the kid that left the bathroom sink running and flooded 3 floors and caused $30,000 worth of damage.
What else is on the...
So, I mean, you can keep your room maintained. What about don't throw up in the sink?
I was getting ready to say, don't jump off the roof.
Don't jump off the balconies. Like if you...
So these
Don't die in
contracts
the
are
hot
just
tub.
something extra that the parents are trying to use to...
It tells me the parents
justify.
have no
Justify.
concept of what those kids are actually doing when they're in the house.
Maybe that's why we don't let children of that age sign legal documents, because they're just not ready.
I mean, I don't think the parents
would think.
anticipate that their children act that way.
Right.
And so they're just trying to cover some very basic bases. Like,
Okay.
Clean your room.
my biggest concern is that your room isn't going to be cleaned.
Okay.
Not that you're going to be jumping off the 3rd-story balcony into the pool and possibly crack your head open and die. That's not a concern on the contract. It's just, can we keep our room cleaned and maintain a low volume of,
Okay.
whatever.
Never mind the other things you're doing.
It's crazy to me, but your children are all not angels. I am a parent of 3. I will say all day long, your children are not angels. My children are not angels.
Nope. And tell them don't take pictures of themselves doing whatever they're...
Please don't think that your child may be different, but the other 24 of them probably aren't.
Yep.
And you've just made yourself responsible for not only your child, but for everyone else. So
Okay.
Steer away from the parent signing the lease for 25 kids and putting yourself responsible.
Okay, here's my next question for you all. You know, I've heard stories before where people will stay, and then at some point the owners will show up and just kind of check things out, and they'll claim that things have been stolen. Like, I don't know, bed sheets. The blankets. Now, tell me how you feel about some of these. Like, have you ever had anything like a TV stolen off the wall, or I don't know? That was just the first thing I thought of. Like anything crazy, like where anybody's like stolen something and you're like, holy crap, I can't believe that that's not there. And it was there last week.
So if somebody deliberately breaks into an owner closet, that could potentially lead to a larger loss, or what we would consider to be not wear and tear, right? As an owner of these properties, forks, spoons, bowls, blankets go. That is a part of doing business. That is a cost of doing business. Unfortunately, if they stain the comforter and they don't want to clean it, they may throw it away. I don't, but either way, those things are kind of more
also tell
cost of doing business.
Those blankets didn't get stolen. They did not get stolen.
They're not. I was going
there.
They
did not take
They're
them
not
home.
stealing them.
It was a lovely floral print, but that is not why it disappeared.
They're lazy. They don't want to clean them, or they think they're going to not be charged or whatever if they just throw it in the trash and get it thrown away before.
They could have blood or other bodily fluids on it, and they just
now you break in an owner's closet and you steal the owner's surfboard.
Or their liquor.
Or their liquor. I mean,
those are fighting words.
When we're talking about high dollar,
because that's what it is,
kind of theft items, then that's a completely different story. But the basic stuff, that's wear and tear. And an owner has to realize that is just going to be something every year. Pillows, you're going to have to replace those things year after year after year, whether somebody, quote unquote, steals them or they just need to be replaced.
Okay. Now, is there something in like the contract that you have with the owner that states like, we're going to maintain simple wear and tear things that at your expense, as part of your fees that you pay to the company? Like, how does that work?
So, it's more so when an owner comes to you and says, my blanket was stolen, and you reference this wear and tear list that says, we don't cover X expense. This is not considered damage. I only have 3 forks in my fork drawer. Okay, well, first of all, it's probably under $25 anyway, right? There's like a threshold of cost, but that is a wear and tear thing.
Okay.
Blinds is another thing. If you have a crack, like one of the blind slats has a crack on it, okay, that is wear and tear.
Okay.
So negligent damage is somebody going and spray painting Homer Simpson on the side of the house during the middle of the night to take up the entire side of the home.
It sounds like that may have happened.
It did. It most certainly did happen.
Homer?
Yep. They spray painted Homer Simpson on the entire side of the house, which was like a white, what's that? What's the material I'm thinking
cedar
about?
shakes.
No, it's the white, like,
Hardy
not
plank?
Cement, but like.
Yeah, hardy plank.
Hardy plank? Is that okay? Fine. They spray painted Homer Simpson on the complete.
How you know it was a guest and not like a homeless person or something?
South side. They admitted to it. The complete south side of the house. So when you were driving down 12 going to Southern Shores Duck Corolla, you saw Homer Simpson, giant Homer Simpson. It was a great Homer Simpson.
Oh, it was good? Okay.
He did so good. Like, he killed it. But that is negligent. That is
negligent with some malice.
No wear and tear involved in that, right? And so
Not accidental.
correct. So the guest is now responsible for that. And the leaseholder openly admitted that she didn't know what her nephew had been on that night or what happened, but he went outside during the middle of the night, spray painted Homer Simpson. She had to pay for the entire side of the house to be repainted.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
That's not small.
So, yeah, you couldn't get it off. So that was, right, the difference between wear and tear and negligence.
Okay.
A very...
A spilled glass of wine on some carpet is certainly an accident.
Yeah. Exactly.
Spray painting Homer is a different story, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that just kind of was a question that was kind of lingering, I'd heard some stuff about stolen bed sheets at one point. And, there was some theories on all of that. So you kind of cleared that up for me. Wild. Give me something wild that it's like in y'all's years, because, we've got combined 60 years of experience here between the three of you. Tell me something wild that may have taken place that you were like, holy crap, I can't believe what I just saw, or holy smokes, what just happened here? Something, because you don't have this job, you don't have this occupation without having a tough skin or thick skin and without having witnessed some interesting things. Because, I mean, you got different people every week. Okay,
Oh, yeah,
Heather jumping on.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, this year has actually been kind of interesting. In addition to having to go look in a yard or in a garage for a box with a remains of a puppy in it, Brooke also was asked to go dig up a man in the front yard of a house. Okay, it turns out the man, St. Joseph, is a statue.
Okay.
But yes, it was a little
It's homicide, it sounds
tricky.
like.
And then for some reason, the transaction closed early, and I was so scared that I was going to be charged with trespassing and digging up an old guy.
Digging
But you
up
can
bones.
buy
home
the home seller's kit on Amazon and bury St. Joseph upside down facing the house, but you just got to go get it after the house sells. Or
What's the significance of St. Joseph buried upside down facing the house?
It's supposed to create a smooth transaction or get you the most for your money. It's
Is this an old wives' tale for
religious-
real estate?
no, I think it's a Catholic thing.
I think it's a Catholic thing. I was going to ask Tiffany about it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was some real estate folklore.
No. I mean, you could buy them on Amazon. I thought it was
yeah,
crazy.
Amazon sells it.
It's called a home.
$7.99.
It's called a home selling kit.
Did you say it's a
It's a little.
It's a little man.
okay?
About how
And
big?
St. Joseph.
I think it was like.
Like, I
inches,
can't.
I think.
I need how many?
3 inches.
Okay. I was gonna say I can see your fingers, but I need to see.
Well, so
I need
the
to hear
guy
it.
sends me a text message and he's like, "I have a little man in my yard that I need you to dig up. It's about 4 inches below
send you
the
a
ground."
video.
He said, "I'll send you a video of precisely where it is." I'm like,
Oh,
"A little." So I'm going to go dig up a little man in someone else's yard now because he doesn't own the house anymore. Like, this is going to end so poorly. Like,
Right.
I called my lawyer just to make sure.
That's
that,
probably better than you going to find the meth rocks under the shower.
Yes. Oh God. Don't. Yeah. That's,
Huh?
Oh, we'll get to that story.
Okay, we'll get to that one in a minute.
Get-
Okay,
get to that one
continue.
next. Go
What
ahead.
do you,
Fine.
No, but wouldn't you say like our most memorable eviction was probably with those 88 kids?
Yeah, Christian Science
Reading room.
reading group.
Do you remember pulling up in that house? Pulling
And
up
Carrie is the one that was working at Atlantic that tipped us off.
because they were jumping over the.
Yep, and they had the subwoofer speakers on the back deck.
But it was the Christian Science reading room, and they had no. Do you remember we pulled up and they had no clothes on the front porch?
Yes.
They were on the front porch. They have 8-bedroom houses, 4 of them rented, and they are hanging on the front
The
stoop. Like
street
there's
facing.
just a little porch.
As soon as
there.
we pulled up, though, they ran inside.
some of them.
Most of them. And then Brooke's banging on the door and they're not answering. And she's like, they act like I don't have a code. And then she just puts her code in and busts in the door. And the next thing you know, Patron was like,
Patron.
And Brooke was like 9 months pregnant at the time. And Patron is like bodying Brooke into a corner and he's got his finger and she's, you know, going back and forth with him. And they
you remember
pissed
picking up
in
the
the
pool stick?
corner. They had urine all over the floor.
Oh my God.
But once they heard the
So
whoop,
Patron
whoop, whoop,
Patron was the name of an individual,
That's
not
correct.
like a shot of Patron.
Nope, that was his last name.
That was his last
Oh, his
name.
last
Patron.
name. Okay, so that's the individual. I was going to say, you had
Apparently- I mean, it
Patron.
was-
I was like, Brooke went in there with some Patron? What?
He had to live up to his name.
She
though.
would have, but no. Yeah, so as soon as they heard the whoop whoop, the cops coming, it was like roaches.
scattered.
They just scattered. They ran across the beach. They ran behind. Some of them went to Outback and Applebee's, I think, was there at the time or something. They ran that way on the highway. And the cops were able to get a decent amount of them, pull them all in the driveway. And
Sit 'em down.
Sat them all down and said, how many of you are over 21? And I think 2 people raised their hand. They arrested Patron. Patron also swung on the cop.
Yes.
So the
Patron did not get arrested for swinging on me. He got arrested for clowning
Swinging on
around
the cop.
police officer. Yeah.
But that was one of, I think, our biggest, and still to this day, one of my biggest hurdles was evicting them knowing that they are
drunk.
absolutely wasted.
Okay.
And having to put them behind the wheel of a car or make them vacate the premises knowing that they are absolutely wasted. And you've got cops there to saying, yeah, as soon as they pull off, of course I can pull them over now for being intoxicated and behind the wheel. And it puts you in a very
It was an ethical situation because I remember you and I struggled with it.
crappy
Like
situation.
we're locking the door. They can't get back in,
Mm-hmm.
and they're naked, wasted out here, and we
Naked
are.
wasted.
Oh yeah. That's
So
just,
were they naked when they were running to Outback and the old Applebee's and
No,
stuff
no,
like
they
that?
were by the pool.
There was
so
a-
you got 4 houses that they were
Side by side.
throughout 4 houses. So
Oh,
it
okay.
wasn't like one dwelling.
I got you.
went
So
after
you
the
had
four.
4 houses that were full of these individuals,
Yes.
and y'all had to, like, the 2 of you had to go, put some law and order down on.
But yeah, I mean, when you think about it, though, it was us 2 against 88 children
Yeah.
or more. I don't know where.
And the cops didn't come until somebody bodied Brooke into a corner.
Yeah,
And
they were
that's
not
when we
coming.
called the cops because before that we were really trying to make this a peaceful.
Right, of
get
course.
your and go.
Okay.
Because there was more of them than us. I mean, it really the only way it was going to go is if it was peaceful. Like because otherwise, if they had wanted to before the cops got there, they could have probably easily taken a pregnant chick and Tiffany. So, but I think that that was definitely the most memorable one for sure. It was because of the sheer volume of kids that it was. I mean, it was so many kids and they were so drunk. I remember that night we went out to eat. My family did, and we saw more of them sitting at the bar drinking milk. They were like trying to sober up at
Wow.
that time. But do you remember those sweet little children that we evicted? They put a cooler in my back seat with beer, and they had condoms, and they had shoved all that stuff in my car when we pulled up to evict them because they had stuff everywhere before the cops even got there. So they put all that in my car. My husband and my child found it later. Like,
wow.
what is this in the backseat of your car? But I guess they
Wow.
were just hiding some liquor, hiding some beer.
Trying to hide it.
Yep.
In your car.
In my car.
Wild.
Yeah.
All right, we got time for maybe one more story
Meth rocks.
from the, what?
Meth rocks.
Meth rocks.
That's what Brooke had the privilege of having an owner that called her. You tell the story.
Yeah.
Let's hear about this.
Yeah.
Some owners shouldn't have cameras.
Some owners should not have cameras. We do, again.
So you're redacting your statement from earlier.
No, I was getting ready to clarify it. I think that we should allow cameras for sane people, like owners that can
comprehend that it's to gauge the occupancy of the house and to make sure that it's not a bunch of hoodlums checking in.
It's not to
then
spy.
Quit watching.
It's not to spy.
That's it.
That's not what it's meant for.
Okay.
So, like, if people are peeing in front of the camera, you shouldn't be able to call me and tell me that someone's peeing in the outdoor shower because you should not be able to see in the outdoor
Inside
shower.
the house, yes,
right? You know
right,
that makes
of
sense?
course.
So I think that we got the call initially that people were doing crap.
Smoking meth in the outside shower.
Outside shower. I'm not exactly sure how we were aware of what narcotic was being.
Well, they said they dropped them.
They dropped them, and
the pool vendor was over. That landscaper blowing.
He blew their rocks with the blower. So this guy is mad at me because I've never. What did he say? I've never had anybody blow the inside of the outside shower out, and we were like, I don't see an issue with that unless you have something that could get blown around that shouldn't be in the outside shower. And so it was some type of, I guess, a drug, right? Like, I mean.
Yeah, they asked us to go look, and so we had to make up an excuse, obviously.
We said we were there to check the septic.
Septic, yep.
So the guest said this to the pool vendor. Why would you blow the outside shower?
The pool vendor was the same as the landscaper. He did both jobs.
He did both jobs. Sorry.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Clarifying now. Okay.
But I mean, we were on our hands and knees looking for some type of drug or proof that this is what had happened. And these people are looking at us like we're crazy. We're down on our hands and knees in landscape rock,
right,
looking for this just because to appease the owner because they were so concerned that they were doing something in the outside shower that they should not be doing. And it's such an invasion of privacy. That's never why we started allowing people to have cameras at vacation rentals, for sure. But that particular owner shouldn't have them to start with.
Right. Okay.
I wanted to do the story about the man with the toilet seat.
Do it.
That got stuck with the toilet seat stuck on his butt.
Let's hear that one. Yes. Tell me that one. Tell me about that.
So it was a house in Nags Head, further south. And checkout was normal for the guest before, and the next guest checked in, and it would appear that the previous guest broke the toilet seat and then used plumbing cement.
Something, yeah.
And it had not dried yet.
Okay.
What an attempt to save a $12 toilet seat. But anyway, we appreciate you keeping the house maintained. Thank you.
Yep.
And so the next guest comes in, sits down, And then when he goes to get up,
He can't get up.
can't. Like, it jerks the whole toilet. Now, I didn't see the man, so I don't know how big or how small he was. But when he went to get up, he said, it's stuck to the back of my legs, and I can't get up. And I'm like, trying not to laugh. It's not funny. It's not funny. It's
not.
But
hilarious,
I'm like, so at this time, I'm thinking, why is he stuck? Is it suction cup to his butt? I have no idea why
Like
he's
his
stuck.
butt went in the hole.
That's
or
what I was
something?
thinking.
Okay,
I'm
yep.
like, I can see that happen, I guess. And so I said, is it wet? He said, I sat on something wet. And he said, I thought it was where the cleaners had just finished cleaning. Apparently the cleaners missed it too. But he sat on it, and it was very, very...
How did we get it off his buttocks?
So ultimately, they detached the toilet seat from the toilet, because at first he tried to get up, and it hurt him. Okay. Like where he was,
Gosh.
Imagine super glue
Yeah.
on your leg, and you're trying to rip it off your hind,
No.
So,
This is disturbing.
yeah. So he told me that he got in the hot tub to soak it off. It really is taking everything I can during this conversation for me to be like,
So your family witnessed you walking out with this toilet seat stuck?
no,
to
they
your
had to
butt
help
and
him
your-
get the toilet seat.
Oh
Oh my gosh, underneath.
clamps.
The clamps underneath
The clamps
the toilet.
underneath. That's how they took it off. And he was like, well, I'm going to break it. I'm like, it sounds like we don't want to save it. Like, it's already been broken
we'll be fine
and
with
fixed
it.
enough. We're good. Just get it off your butt and we'll move forward and get you a new toilet seat.
My goodness.
Yep.
Wow.
But, I mean, it's crazy. That was my fault, even though the guest...
So they blamed it on you.
Yes. And I'm like, I promise you, we don't fix toilet seats. We are not gluing them back together.
We
are
would just replace it.
We're just going to replace them. We have lots of them. But from his position on the toilet, I could see where it would look like I had made an attempt to repair the toilet. But plus, I was the only person that he could yell at. He couldn't yell at the guest from last week. Sometimes these guests just want to be heard. They just want to yell at somebody.
Well, I'll tell you, I think we can get into a whole nother episode about yelling guests and more adventures
Yeah, we didn't
from...
even topple that yet.
Well, I'll tell you what,
But
we're going to
yep.
get to that one, but we're going to wrap this one up for today. We're going to do a part 2 to this, and we'll discuss when that part 2 is going to happen. I'm thinking maybe later on in the winter, we'll do a part 2 and take it from there. But ladies, Brooke, Heather, Tiffany, I appreciate you giving me some info from the front lines of real estate today and property management here on the Outer Banks. It's been very appreciative, and I can't say thank you enough again for allowing the opportunity for people to kind of get a little closer view of what really takes place. I know we've covered this topic in previous episodes, but today I wanted to make sure that we brought it back up, gave it its due justice, talked about what happened in 2024, what's looking like for the spring, or the wintertime, and here's some different stories from the front line. So, ladies, greatly. Any closing thoughts, Brooke?
No, just be nice to people in the service industry. They're very tired.
Okay.
We're very tired. We're tired of being yelled at for 1 year. And so if you go to a restaurant, be nice to people.
Okay. Heather, anything from you?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
No, I'm good. Heather's going to reserve her thoughts for the next podcast.
There you go.
Tiffany, closing thoughts?
Shout out to the locals. We got our beach back.
Yes.
Got our this special edition of the Outer Banks This Week podcast with Brooke, Heather, and Tiffany, all from the real estate world. Ladies, again, thank you so very much.
Thank you,
welcome.
Justin.
Thank you.